This is one of the most powerful weeks we've seen in 2 years. This is going to be a game changer. We're having a conjunction of the planet Mars, speed, velocity, aggression, war, and passion, determination, and action against the hard wall of Saturn, which is where we have those boundaries. And this cycle of Mars and Saturn coming together, two malefics with sort of a little bit in common, but not a lot, happens every 2 years. And this is the week where we start that new cycle of the Mars-Saturn synodic cycle in our world. And it will be a 2-year narrative, but it begins the week of April the 8th to the 15th. And we're going to have a particular focus in our astrology of the week on that aspect, on that transit, especially as it's going to be precise around Wednesday. You're going to feel it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's playing out week long, guys. And it's co-present with an eclipse. It's co-present at the same time with that Aries eclipse, with the cazimi of Mercury in the heart of the sun. This week is so busy in Aries, but guess what? Mars is the owner of the Aries real estate. And so what goes on in Aries, Mars is definitely paying some attention to as he comes into that barrier of Saturn, and the two must work together. This is going to play out in your life in a very particular way. And we're going to itemize the last time this happened, other years where this particular combination of planets, Mars, Saturn, came together in Pisces. So you can make comparisons to the past. I would love for you to go get a pen and a paper, a beer, glass of wine, a coffee, or a tea to settle in and take notes. Because one of the things I love about astrology is giving you the power to look at the cycles from the past and compare to what might happen in the now. Life is a series of repeating cycles. Perhaps it's a spiral, but you can make assertions about the now based on things from the then. Okay, way back then machine here. Now, I'm also going to do some world astrology, and we talk about how this might impact the world as well. If you don't like mundane or global or world event astrology, that's okay. You can jump ahead using the chapters, which is to click the title of the video and also the timestamps pinned into the top of the comments. Those will take you straight to your sign. I suggest you listen to the beginning because I'll talk about some asteroids involved in the story. Nessus, for example, that I won't be able, and Apollo, that I can't really talk about all over again later on. You want to understand how those influence the sky and you as well. Finally, listen for your rising sign as probably most accurate. Sun can be about father figures, career and purpose matters, whereas the moon can be about mother and mother figures, but of course, your body, your mind, or how you see your reality, and the idea of the home. All right. Now, that said, guess what? Welcome. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lori Lothy, and I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac and the whole sign house system. And I love the fixed stars and minor asteroids. If that kind of content turns you on, why don't you sign up for the like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I do have a very large video out, like a 2-video series, 2-part series on the solar eclipse, total solar eclipse, making it extra Texas with eclipse from last fall in October, the Libra eclipse. And if you want to learn more about how that eclipse is affecting you, listen to both of my videos. I'll put them in the comments box underneath this video. It's called the description box. When you hit the more button, you're in the description box. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that I'm almost at 60,000 subscribers as I record this video early for my Patreon community. You guys get this on Monday, and I'm recording on Saturday, April the 6th. I'm about 300 subs away from 60,000. When I get there, I'm having a celebration party. And if you want to be a part of it, I'm giving away some free readings, free courses, and a bunch of stuff. And in order to participate, I'm going to direct you to my Cosmic Moonshine newsletter. Once you're subscribed, when the contest opens, you'll be able to enter it. And I'm going to also have different ways for you to be in the draw for winnings. So check out Cosmic Moonshine newsletter down below. And it's a weekly forecast newsletter that I write by myself. It comes out every weekend, usually on Saturday, about the week ahead. Okay, so let's talk about the sky. Oh, this is Lori breathing through this week ahead. I don't know that I've seen a sky this intense in years of sky watching. Years of being a sky reader, because it is such a combination of things happening all at once. Reminds me of that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Basically, I wouldn't even be so concerned with the Mars conjunction to Saturn as a technical aspect of the sky if it wasn't for the fact that Mars is the owner of the eclipse, the owner of Venus now moving through the sign of Aries, the owner of the real estate where we have Mercury in the heart of the sun on the 11th. backed up by three powerful stars getting divine messages for the world and for each of us individually. I do have a webinar on that I taught, but the free replay with the guided meditation and how to harness that Kazemi. I'll put it in the description box below. You can grab that webinar replay and watch it for free. It was free when I taught it. It's free when I'm giving you the replay. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is what happens when we get the idea of Mars and the idea of Saturn together in the sky. What kinds of words can we make from Mars? Of course, the warrior and the high-speed guy, and he's got, cliche amongst astrologers here is the foot on the gas pedal is Mars, and Saturn has his foot on the brake, or even the parking brake, and there's a lack of traction or movement forward. It's not always that simple. Saturn is cold, Mars is hot. Saturn is cautious, Mars is daring, right? So I put together a list of words to give you the vibe of this and the idea of the sky in the coming week, but also the idea as we get further into this video of how this might play out in a 2-year pattern, the next 2 years ahead, the themes of this conjunction. Now, this is playing out in the sign of Pisces. We last saw this conjunction in Pisces in March of 1994, and it lasted until March of 96. But then guess what? In March of 96, again, Saturn and Mars joined in Pisces, lasting till March of 98. There's a 4-year window of time when this kind of sky we have now is repeating, but most particularly it is the earlier version, March of 94 to 96. It overlapped with eclipses through the Aries and Libra axis, giving us a lot more flavor of what happened in 1994, 1996, spring of 94 to spring of 96, and it's replaying now. Now, in my video I put out about falling leaders and dark matter and things to do with red cows, the last eclipse video, I do talk about this pattern leading to themes in the global world, global stories of massacres and assassinations, as well as leaders stepping down voluntarily from power. And if that kind of thing interests you, go back and listen to that video. But it's partly because that eclipse video that I recorded, that is now out as of Sunday, yesterday, that eclipse video is also bringing in the Mars-Saturn theme as it pertains to the eclipse in Aries. So keywords to blend together a Mars and Saturnian element: force, right? Force and discipline. Force is Mars, discipline is Saturn. Caution, Saturn. Action, Mars. Cautious action. Boundary collisions. Saturn is a wall or a boundary, and Mars is plowing full speed ahead in a speedboat through the Piscean waters and hits a rock. Or yes, a cargo ship hits a piling on a bridge. And Mars and Saturn were together in Pisces when the Francis Key Scott Bridge collision happened. They don't have to be touching. When Saturn and Mars are in one sign, they're co-present, and those themes come up, and it is Pisces, the sign of water. Smoldering rage. Smoldering is Saturn, because Saturn is a cold planet, dry planet. Rage is Mars. Cold-blooded. Saturn cold, Mars blooded, hot-blooded, cold-blooded, cold-blooded, iron, Saturn, fist, Mars, iron fist, machinery of war, right? Mars is war and Saturn is structures, the machinery of war, the weapons of war. And I would even say that Thor's hammer from Greek mythology is a good archetype for this energy. It's a hammer. It's been metalsmithed into being. And that's the metalsmithing of the weapons of the gods. Thor's hammer is Norse, but Hephaestus made the armor of the gods and made the weapons for Zeus. And again, forging something into form. Saturn, Mars, weapons of war. Also, the current conflagration in the Middle East, more bombs are dropped on Gaza than the equivalent of a kinetic force of 2 nuclear detonations, was named by the Israeli government iron swords. That's so Mars-Saturn. Now, there is some stories here I really want to show you, but one is this disconcerting, maybe a bit alarming. I'm going into the world stuff right now in a minute, a bit alarming energy, and I'll show it to you in a minute, of the asteroid Nessus, which is a story about revenge. Okay, this particular centaur was taking revenge on Hercules. Everything went downhill from this vengefulness, And the idea here of revenge with the asteroid Nessus sitting with the Mars-Saturn conjunction in the sign of Pisces can only bring to mind such things as the axis of resistance, or Iran in particular, Iran, who's currently stated that they will indeed enact revenge for the bombing of the consulate building under their territory within Syria in the city of Damascus. And so right now, the United States and perhaps the USA and Israel are sitting on a tinderbox of a revenge that's promised. And of course, Nessus is the asteroid of revenge connected to Mars-Saturn. War weapons, iron fist, machines of war, cold blood, smoldering rage, Thor's hammer. Okay. The positive side of this is that in our own lives, Mars and Saturn give us active forbearance, perseverance, discipline. We can take actions and decisions and work that, we were doing. Mars is the action, decisions, and Saturn is the sort of structure, wisdom, and discipline. There's wisdom in Saturn. He's like a sage-like guy, an old, wizened woman or man, the Senex, a wise man, the wise woman. And Saturn is going to give wisdom to all of us in our Pisces sky regarding actions and choices we wish to make in our lives. It's not too bad, not too shabby. Because every planetary combination has a shadow side and a good side, a darker part of how it can operate and a more positive way it can operate. Now, if you're wondering, oh yeah, really, determination and caution and wisdom and actions, who had this energy most recently in terms of the signs of the sky, guys? It was Aquarians, because Mars and Saturn came together twice in the sky, in the sign of Aquarius, in March of 2020 at 0 degrees of Aquarius, and April 5th, 2022 at 24 degrees of Aquarius. Therefore, Aquarius risings and sun and moon have been working most acutely with this energy of perseverance, discipline, focused action, active forbearance, going the distance, marathon energies of hard work and drive and ambition. 4 years, 2020 to 24, I applied this Mars as an Aquarius rising. Sorry about the traffic. It's really hot in my office, and that's perfect Mars. I'll hear trucks and cars and traffic, and Mars rules those things. If you're an Aquarius, please write in the comments how it's been for you since basically 2020. How has this combination worked in a positive way through the way you've operated in your world? And for me, it has been a very persistent, consistent drive and ambition, tempered with methodical incremental gains in building my astrology business that you are now receiving today. I remember when my YouTube channel wasn't taking off at one point in 2019, I was frustrated, or 2020. And my girlfriend said, Lori, YouTube is a long game. Don't give up. That don't give up is how a lot of us Aquarians have plowed through 2020 to 2024. And a lot of you angular signs, Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio, were under the same energy as this was squaring your sun, moon, or rising sign. So that's a good comparative note, correct? If you want to go back in time, this conjunction happened in April of 2018 for the Capricorns and add 2 years of time for it to unfold. If you want to keep going back, August of 2016, it was happening for the Sagittarius energy of the sky. And those people who are Sag, Sun, Moon, and Rising were under the influence between August of 16 and April of 2018. And then finally, August of 2014, Scorpios got it, and that lasted till 2016. But when we talk about the synodic cycle in the sign of Pisces, you do have to go, as I mentioned earlier, back to 1994 and also back to 1996 in the spring of each of those years, kicking off a 2-year synodic cycle of Mars-Saturn energy in the sky in the sign of Pisces. If you want to go back further, you can go back to February of 1966 in Aquarius, in Pisces, till 1968. And if you want to go back even further, 1936, January to 1938. All right, so one of the things I want to share is the Sabian Symbol. This is a book that I've used for a long time. It's called The Sabian Symbols, A Screen of Prophecy by Diana E. Roche, or the information is in my description box, the name of the book in more detail. And the Sabian symbol of this particular conjunction at 14 degrees of Pisces, which is where it happens on Wednesday, let's go double check, 8, 9, 10. Yes, it's on a Wednesday in my time zone, adjust for you Australians and stuff. But here it's happening April the 10th, which is a Wednesday in my time zone at about 1:38 p.m. in the afternoon in Vancouver, Canada, or Pacific Daily Time. It doesn't so much matter the day of the event or the degree. You're feeling it already Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's going to have an orb of influence of 3 degrees on either side, and you're already feeling this energy. Now, sometimes it just feels like frustration. You know, Mars-Saturn, or like Mars wants to go fast, Saturn wants to go slow, and there's a sense of tortoise in the hare trying to work out the details. So there's a sense of urgency with a sense of caution and slowness, and therefore a sense of frustration may be building for each of us in the week ahead. But the Sabian symbol is an officer preparing to drill his men. Keyword preciseness. You can't ask for anything more military. Obviously, force and discipline are a military energy, which is what you have with us 2 planets together, and military energy in the sign of water. Now, it was on a coastline along the coastal road in Gaza that the IDF bombed 3 cars in succession as survivors from the first car tried to run to the second and the second to the third. Cars spaced out by kilometers, cars that were from the World Kitchen Aid program that had telegraphed to, in a deconflicted zone, had telegraphed to the IDF where they would actually be, and that therefore they were going to be safe as they came back from a warehouse drop of supplies to feed the starving Gazans. And so right now, of course, Israel's doing a mea culpa. It was a mistake. There's pressure on governments to stop funding them with money and weapons because of what happened. I find it disheartening, by the way, that it takes Western deaths to make a difference, right? There's more aid workers, mostly Palestinian, killed, targeted in, as well as journalists in Gaza, than there have been in like something like the last 30 years of deaths of aid workers. That statistic just came out, and there are over 200 dead aid workers so far. So bottom line, a reason I'm bringing this up is because Pisces rules shorelines, you know, coastal barriers and boundaries. And this is exactly where this incident occurred. And so at this juncture, to me, this Mars and Saturn difficulty is happening in relationship to events that have already transpired, because Mars and Saturn have been together now for a while in the sign of Pisces. My memory serves me, maybe the 3rd week of March, when Mars entered into Pisces. It does not leave until the end of April, around the 29th or 30th. So we've been seeing stories like this already playing out. Now, there's a theory that when Mars comes together with something, he shows his true stripes when he's leaving that planet. So Mars-Pluto was in February. I believe it was the Super Bowl, what people call the Super Bowl Sunday massacre, but it was also a whole bunch of bad stuff going down with either military, Mars-Pluto that week of the conjunction back in February, a $15 billion aid package to Taiwan, Ukraine, and Gaza was passed. But also it was I believe that was the date of the Super Bowl massacre, in quotes. Okay. Basically, yeah. So you go Google the meaning of that for what happened in Gaza in the south, in Rafah, if that's my memory serves me correctly. Now, I'm going to bring that up because that was Mars-Pluto right now. And that was Mars-Pluto in Aquarius. Now we have Mars-Saturn in Pisces. Let's see if, you know, after Wednesday or after the 10th, the real impact of what this is begins to be obvious to us. So when I read that particular Sabian symbol of an officer preparing to drill his men, keyword preciseness, some of the themes that this particular author outlines for the Sabian symbol is the idea of ingenuity and self-discipline. And it says as well, a can-do attitude. Now, I want to be clear, in each of our lives, we're not going to have a bomb on a coastal line hit 3 cars. You could have ingenuity, discipline, perseverance, precision, right? You could have this self-discipline offered up by the Saturn-Mars conjunction sitting with the beautiful energy of the Sabian symbol. It says the opportunity lies here in creating your own opportunities. Your greatest advantage is to create your own opportunities and think positive about situations in which you may feel stuck. All right. If life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So, but I find it interesting that it is indeed a military symbol. So let me show you the sky, and we're going to get going on this narrative. First of all, let me bring you to the picture of the sky and talk about the asteroids and all of that stuff. And I apologize about the traffic. Again, it's either I'm going to sweat buckets while I teach you this stuff, or I'm going to allow for airflow. So here we have the sky. Now, I want you to notice that this is Mars over here. I guess annotation may help for some of you, so I will do that. annotation mess that I often do. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to Mars and Saturn at 14 degrees and 40 minutes. There's a 4-4. That adds up to a 9, 1, 4, 4. And that's about endings, completion, but also embeds the archetype of the Hermit and the Tarot, which is about wisdom and shining a light of deep knowledge and wisdom into reality, the lantern. Here's Nessus, the revenge-taking, okay, centaur. And when you look at this and you think the word revenge, that would be a key word, and you see Mars-Saturn in Pisces, the nation of Iran has its own Mars in Pisces, around 25 degrees. And it's actually their nation, Iran. In Canada, we say Iran. I know everyone told me to say Iran. The nation of Iran has a Mars that sits on this Neptune. Neptune is holy war. Mars is holy war. When you put Iran's Mars up against this Neptune in our current sky, already Iran is feeling the urge for a holy war. Iran is a Leo rising in its modern iteration of its natal sky. And then therefore this holy war involves the nation of Iran's sixth house. Sixth house energies have to do with karmic debt situations and individual charts, but also the workforce perhaps, or the labor markets in the nation of Iran. However, it is not a positive nor reassuring feeling to note that Pisces is the fourth house of home and homeland of the United States of America, USA. And that does not look like a U, but get the idea of Lori drawing with a cursor. And so United States homeland is experiencing a revenge asteroid connected to Mars, Neptune, holy war, Iran, connected to difficult hardship ingredients. So that's a warning. So that's a possibility that Iran will also take revenge on the United States, not only Israel. And for Israel, this is Israel's ascendant here. Oh, yeah. What am I doing? Yes, so my brain coming offline. Hang on. I apologize. My brain went offline, guys. I'm overworked. For Iran, it is not their sixth house. It is their eighth house of death. So that's not too promising, is it? Secrets and death and stealth and stuff like that. So it's the eighth house for Iran as a Leo rising. And for Israel, it's the sixth house. And that can be soldiers can be in the sixth house, just so you know. So there is this military soldiers. Okay. So there is this essence here of matters to do with the sixth house of Israel and this revenge asteroid involved in that part of its sky, as well as the United States, fourth house of homeland, home base, the territorial United States of America. Now, other things I was thinking about when I looked at this chart is a gentle reminder that in each of our lives, it's also positive because we see a flow to Apollo, a place where we can each be sun gods in our own lives. And that is an exact 14-degree Apollo moving direct and this conjunction. Apollo is where we can rise to a level of authentic leadership and authority and empowerment as we are acting like our own sun god. And in your lives, when we do the all signs, I'm going to really talk about the Apollo energy playing out through your year, 2 years ahead, because this is baking in that story. It's indicative of a theme of power, soul-led, solar-powered energy that each of us can lift up through the Pisces and the Cancer part of the sky, right? So simple. But also, what about this over here? This whole bunch of content in the sky. This is the eclipse. This is the Mercury Gazemi. This is Venus in her detriment moving through Aries. It's not something we're going to talk about today because I talked a bit about it in the eclipse, saying that the eclipse engenders things to do with this conjunction relative to the eclipse here of April the 8th. So that's another video. Go watch that. Number 2. It is in this video today that I will talk about Lord Jupiter, who is indeed a benefic with an exalted moon at the moment of this conjunction at 14 degrees and 40 minutes with Uranus surprise and shock. Now, I'll just say one thing. This exalted moon flows to Apollo, and I will bet your bottom dollar this indicates a female rising to great power, over the course of the next 2 years. And I mean leadership power. I mean like presidential, prime ministerial power. And we could see with the United States Sibley natal chart, possibly, that's, you know, the USA's first house, that we may see the rise of a woman to power, especially if that woman engaged in any military service. So a female who was a military service person. Now, I don't know if Tulsi Gabbard was. I think Trump will run. I think Tulsi's going to be in the lead. I don't know if Trump will have to go to jail and she'll take over because she'll be vice president, but I'm saying it's not Kamala Harris in my view. So there's a female who may have been involved in military service connected to the United States of America, perhaps rising to great power in the next 2 years as a result of this conjunction. That's a prediction. This conjunction of Mars and Saturn on April the 10th, and it unfolds over 2 years. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to begin to move into the all signs. And I want to point out that with Jupiter as a benefic planet in a flow state to this conjunction called a sextile, and with the flow to Apollo, when you listen for your sign, I don't want you to feel dread. I just lived through this conjunction as an Aquarius rising, and I lived through 2 years of it. And I would say that many times I felt frustrated, defeated, overwhelmed, and tired. But at many times I felt I could persevere, be disciplined, be forbearant, be willing to take things incrementally and slowly, to not give up, to be a marathoner that crosses the boundary of a finish line. Mars crossing the boundary of Saturn, a finish line. It is now a flavor that has to do with water. And because this watery part of the sky, since last March, when the planet Mars entered here and does not leave until February of 2026, means hardship and constraint and difficulties for the world in the place of water. Seas, bridges, dams, water events with weather. My only concern for the world in general over the next 2 years as this unfolds is perhaps something to do with a illness that's waterborne, especially with Neptune. And one of the thoughts I had is the melting permafrost in the northern areas of the world, the north latitudes of the world, or the North Pole areas. And I just saw an article about permafrost melt in, I think it's northern Germany or northern Sweden. And it's like a far-fetched science fiction story to think about it this way, but embedded in millennia and thousands and millions of years of frozen ground are bacteria and viruses and funguses. And so the worst case scenario that we might see from this as we approach the next 2 years is the release of some pathogen from melting water. On the other hand, hardship at sea, Taiwan, China, water battles, other hardships, of course, the Gaza Strip, getting water to the people on a pier that hasn't been built. The fact that the Israeli IDF forces have destroyed greenhouses and farmland. Every single university has been demolished. There are, I think, one functioning hospital left in the entirety of Gaza. 70% of the homes are structurally destroyed in the north. There are no more learning institutions, mosques, arable farmland, growable greenhouses. You know, in the comments, what do you think about that? Let me know. Do you think that this was a war of defense or a war of revenge? Do you think this was a war that was just about an event that happened October 7th, or did this problem start many years before? So in this narrative, the reason I bring this up and why I'm talking about it is because of this hardship regarding areas of land that connect to border lines between water and sea. We already seen the Houthis and or Houthis, how you pronounce it, you know, with their actions in the Red Sea. And we will also probably see more such problems in the Middle East in the areas of water. And I'm just thinking Gaza, of course, as the most obvious place for this to be a problem and a hardship. If Israel ceases today and everything ends, it is going to take years to rebuild Gaza and make it habitable. When you listen to yesterday's video, if you want to, the one that came out on Sunday, I do talk very specifically about the grapes of wrath attack on Lebanon that happened back in the cycle of this Mars-Saturn before, as well as with the eclipse. And I also talk about assassinations and massacres. So military operations, assassinations, and massacres, the voluntary stopping down of a world leader. Lyndon Baines Johnson stepped down from the re-election candidacy, and Nixon won that election in 1968. And there is parallels to what's happening today because of the Mars-Saturn repeating cycle, as well as the eclipses. Just so you know, it was 1966 to 1968. As I mentioned, the Mars-Saturn conjunction happened in Pisces. All right, there's that. And you know what? In the United States natal chart, that's the party that opposes the party in power. And so you could say that the forbearance and the sturdy, strength and discipline of an opponent from the Republican Party, because Johnson was a Democrat, was a strength for the Republican Party to take power with the election of Nixon as Biden. Lyndon Baines Johnson stepped down. But also, there was the assassination during that time of Robert Kennedy that was corresponding with this eclipse overlay of 1966, 1970, 67, 68, 69. Eclipses were moving through Aries, Libra with Chiron, right? I always said this is the back to the 60s eclipses. If you go back to 1969, we had Chiron, North Node, Aries eclipses happening. And it's rinse repeat. And what have we seen since the 60s, guys? We've seen people burning themselves alive, demonstrations, right, against war, anti-war protests, the civil disobedience, civil contest or demonstrations against what the governing powers are doing when it comes to war around the world, not just in the United States, not just everywhere. And so this is like a rinsing and repeating of the late 1960s, in which not only did we have Aries, Chiron, North Node eclipse, but we also had the Saturn conjunction to Mars in Pisces. And I'm going to say that I really do think that Joe Biden is a repeating version of Lyndon Baines Johnson. I think that Johnson stepped down because he did so bad in some primary early runoff in March. The election was in November. He announced he was stepping down in April after the dismal result in the primary. And so we're not there yet. We're in March, April, and we will probably see some kind of Biden pullback away from his candidacy. And I did say in many videos, just like Prince Charles, Biden had an eclipse on his moon in the house of sickness. It represents health. And same eclipse hit the moon of King Charles, which is actually in his 10th house. But also at the same time, Pluto is squaring the moon of Joe Biden, which represents the body and health, as well as the moon of King Charles. And I talked about that in videos well before King Charles announced his prostate cancer problem. So astrology does work, and there's such duress under Joe Biden's chart right now, such difficulty in both everything, his zodiacal releasing, his solar return, in his solar arcs, he's got a Pluto problem as well. Oh my God, let me look at that because some of you want to know about this, I'm sure. In his solar arcs, which is a progressed chart, that basically moves every planet in your natal sky ahead by a year from the time of birth on average. In his progressed solar chart at this time, Joe Biden has Pluto at 0 degrees of Scorpio, exactly opposite his moon in Taurus. Well, the real time Pluto is squaring his moon. Moon means body and health. And this Pluto is tracking with Hygeia, the goddess of sickness, well, healing for sickness, right? All right, so that's that. We're going to stop that annotation, and next we're going to do the all signs. So let's get going. Let me get rid of this, clear all drawings, and we're going to stop the share. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notification. I'm going to be pinning this video to a second end because I've got a client right now. My Patreon gets this early access ad-free content for a mere $5 a month at the minimum tier, a Zoom meeting with me on the monthly, plus the perk of 2 free gift courses, replays on Chiron, the Key to Purpose, and Synastry, Are You My Person? Both those classes are yours for free, valued at $44 in resale right now, just for trying me out. So check out my description box for how to sign up for my private community on Patreon. Take care, everybody. I'll see you in part 2. So guys, let's get started with the Aries, and through all signs, I always say, listen for your rising sign. It's mostly accurate, more like about you at the steering wheel of your life. There really is a steering wheel. And if you want to listen to your sun sign, it's your career, and your moon would be about your purpose in your home. And let's get going. Oh, sorry, your moon would be your home, your sun would be your purpose. Can you guys tell that I'm really getting ready to get rid of client readings and I'm really getting overwhelmed? Well, I am. It's been 5 years in the trenches, thousands and thousands of clients. I love my clients. And when I love the clients, it's the work that I'm being challenged to continue because I don't have the stamina at age 62 to see clients while I also do YouTube videos, while I also teach classes, while I also manage a Patreon community with special perks for you guys and meetings and things also to do with mini courses I teach. So yeah, it's been a ride. Saturn Mars conjunction in the Aquarian zone for 4 years. It's winding down. Let's talk about each sign. Let's start off with Aries. I thought I had it queued to Aries. My apologies. I'll put it right back for you guys. Now, don't forget, this is a repeating cycle, and I want you to listen for the thoughts in your little minds of 1994 to 1998 when Saturn and Mars kept co-joining in Pisces, with the 94 to 96 more like now because we also had 94 to 96. The energy of Chiron. If you were alive in the energy of the eclipses through Aries. If you were alive in 1966 to 68, this was also happening. And that was more like now as well, because then we had North Node and Chiron energy going on with eclipses at Aries, but we also had a Saturn-Mars conjunction in Pisces. For most of you, going back to 1994 to 96 and 1996 to 98, March to March, each time is probably the best way for you to think about it. I'm not going to repeat this, I hope, for every sign. I have to end up repeating it because I know that you guys often just jump to your sign and you go, what the hell is she talking about? Okay, Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. So I have an Aries sun and moon, and I recognize this energy, all right, of what this means for us. It's very much about our spiritual life. This is a wanting us to break on through to the other side in areas of reality, Mars-Saturn, that have to do with having persistence and drive, sagacity and wisdom around our deeper spiritual impulse to liberate ourselves from the matrix called spiritual liberation or moksha. And so if you go back to 94 to 98, what kind of spiritual things were you guys up to break away also from self-defeating habits, patterns, addictions, and our unconscious curses and past life karmatic junk? And I remember in 94 to 98 for my career, my sun and my moon, my home, not only did I move to a new home, but I also was working very much at that time on developing a meditation practice and trying to find my inner Zen-like peace after a time of great difficulty. But at the same time, you could make money here, and that would be money from far off lands and foreign people. In other words, borderless revenue. And I did the same thing, opened my psychic readings practice and began to get clients from around the world. So you too can be experiencing revenue that does not require you to be in a boundary of a nation. And maybe international companies and sources of barter and trade and revenue, import and export, can be a part of what this can give you the drive, ambition, perseverance, and wisdom to accomplish over the next 2 years. With all of those good Mars words such as force and discipline, active forbearance, and abilities to cross the finish line without giving up. Now, I will draw attention for each sign. I didn't want to complicate this actually earlier, but there is a bit of a finger of God going on here with the moon and with Jupiter. And what I like about the finger of God in our charts individually, it's really hard to suss them out for the world, honestly, because they're very subtle. But there may be a focus here for every single Aries to come to terms with your client, audience, marketplace, marriage, significant long-term relationships in your life as a result of this particular Mars conjunction pointing to the South Node in the 7th house. Where do you need to release your grip? I'm releasing my grip on seeing so many clients. As well, you have this very beautiful exalted moon in the 2nd house of earnings with Jupiter, Uranus. And clearly, to me, this indicates an exalted, superpowered, sudden, exciting, rapid expansion of viable income, earnings, savings, and resources. And this is going to power you up over the next 2 years. You would say something along the lines of, with Apollo in the fourth house, how are you being a leader in and from your home? How are you executing leaderful, powerful solar figure energy, being a leader from the home base, serving that moon in the exalted house of earnings? That moon is owning your fourth house of real estate in the sky, and therefore how you lead from home and home base is a big narrative of how you're successful. But Apollo can bring you great developments that are positive around finances and home, and where you wish to nest yourself in a very empowered throne of reality over the next 2 years. I would mention, of course, that Mars is the Lord of Aries, and what he does is really important. And you have not seen him do this kind of conjunction to Saturn in your 12th house for a long time. So you want to pay attention, especially with the finger of God, with what he's bringing into this narrative. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. So what happens here is it not seen since 94 March and 96 March, therefore 1994 to 98, you are under this influence of a Mars-Saturn conjunction in your 11th house. Now, this could have been about persevering and determined action, not to give up when it came to your dreams, goals, and wishes for your life, or the way you were going to succeed in your career, especially the perks and rewards and gains from your 10th house of career. And this is going to ask you to do the same thing again. Yet you might have found some friendships and elder sibling relationships very difficult, and you felt like you had to persist and persevere and really push through to keep those relationships alive. Sometimes the 11th house can also be about what motivates you to have influence on groups of others, or what groups of belonging you wish to join. And there were maybe certain types of belonging groups that you were joining back then that really were quite important to your career path and to your feeling of well-being. And here again, you may cut away and join some new groups because of this conjunction over the next 2 years. You're looking for a little spiritual holy energy with this spiritual warrior of Mars and Neptune. And so you might be joining some new spiritual groups, unlike back in 1994 to 1998. Because a finger of God forms with the south node of fate, you might be aligning here with a difficult sacrificial need to make some changes in your work and health routines and let go of something. And with Chiron at the midpoint of that finger of God, the boomerang point, it would be likely better health outcomes by letting go of self-defeating habits, addictions patterns, but especially substance abuse and dependencies. Not to worry, though, because you are Jupiter and you have the exalted moon and you have exciting Uranus here. And this is kind of baking in a narrative, not just this week, but over the next 2 years, of how you might become, in some very fundamentally exciting way, more prosperous, more lucky, more generous, more magnanimous, more independent, more freedom-loving, and more intensely empowered to be exalted in your very nature, to be extremely popular or likable as well with this exalted moon. Where can you be a leader? You can be a leader in third house matters. Third house matters is, say, lead from your throne in, or your leadership seat in the third house of siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, neighbors, neighborhood, skills-based learning and teaching opportunities, and travel short distance. This is an area over 2 years where you have some sun god energy going on with Apollo, and where you could lead. Hi ho, off you go. Travel, travel, travel. Maybe write a book. This is a house of communications. Maybe get some new level of thrival with a better neighbor or neighborhood situation. That's going to lift up for you in a positive way, especially relationships with people close to you in your local environment, in your daily environment. Third house increases, right? And at the same time, that finger of God, not only does it say to change your health protocols, not to be sick, but it also can give you a chance to let go of one line of work or job and move over the next couple of years with persistence and luck towards something new in your professional endeavors. And now we have Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. All right, guys, this is the energy of a not seen since 1994 March and then 1996 March. Therefore, not to 1994 to 98, 4 years of time in which you had an energetic signature in your career house. And if you remember what was going on then, 94 to 98, you're going to say you worked hard, you persevered, you didn't give up. Sometimes it felt frustrating. Sometimes it felt difficult. Sometimes it felt like you were having to apply an iron fist to your career path, and yet you were doing so in a steady, incremental, discipline-focused action way. And that's back again. And this is what you're going to do over the next 2 years with this conjunction in Pisces, your 10th house, yet again. Now, the other energy here is you want some dreamy results, right? Mars, Neptune, for holy war, but spiritual warrior. And you're looking for a higher level of expression as well, more spiritual. Neptune also rules filmmaking, filmography, storytelling, video, photography, screenplays, Hollywood. Maybe some of you will move in that direction if it's one of the things you've been meaning to do over the next 2 years. Music as well, music career. So music, all the Neptunian arts. Now, also, Mars is flowing to Jupiter and an exalted moon at the time of his ingress into the 12th house, like flowing to the 12th house. And this can open up big doorways for you of international borderless income and revenue. Time for you to simply, I don't know, make money in and from a foreign land, from customers in and from a foreign land, from clients in and from foreign shores. That kind of prosperity, excitement, rags to riches is happening there. It's really powerful. The finger of God is pointing to letting go of some fifth house matters, maybe over-functioning with your kids, maybe a particular love romantic situation is needing some kind of sacrificial energy, too much energy going there. You might want to let go of something else in the fifth house, like a creative project that's weighing you down, or an entrepreneurial business that's no longer viable. And at the same time, you are looking at where your sun god is lit up in the sky. And this is in the second house of money, earnings, possessions, resources, what you need to have in order to thrive and survive in life. So your savings included, money you possess, things you possess. And that's leaderful, and it's light, and it's sun goddish, and it's ruled by that moon in the 12th house. That can definitely indicate international revenue and a real glow up in finances. Now, some of you don't do online work like I do, so maybe what you're looking at is like you get hired by an international company. Mars can indicate a change of home or a change of country even sometimes, but in the 10th house, changes in your home coming through over the next 2 years to increase your financial well-being. But mostly I'm thinking about, Apollo, the sun god, flowing to this dedicated perseverance in your career house is going to increase your financial well-being through your work and career path. Hands down, no brainer. Now, let's talk about you Cancer people, Sun, Moon, and Rising. See, seems to me that with this conjunction in your 9th house of God as a spiritual house between the worlds, metacosmos place, it's deep spiritual idealism, religion, and philosophy, and how you parse the meaning of life in general and your own in specific. Certainly, you are going to make some changes here. I would encourage you to go back to 1994 through to 1998 when we had 2 Mars conjunctions to Saturn in that window of 4 years in Pisces. Therefore, you are back in that narrative to some degree again, with the exception of Pluto being a new element. Neptune being a new element. So how are you going to make some disciplined, focused, cautious changes in your spiritual philosophy over the next 2 years? On a more mundane note, foreign land travel, higher level learning, academics, colleges and campuses, book publishing endeavors, and even courts and legal matters belong to the 9th house. And some of you will be dealing with those in a very profound way over the next 2 years, but with good luck and good results because of the sextile to Jupiter, Uranus, and the exalted moon. And so if you're working in book publishing, if you're working in foreign travel visas, foreign land travel visas, academics, or a court or legal matter, you stand to be very successful because of the Jupiter's energy of a bounty in a house that often brings great gains from one's career, but also pennies from heaven. Also, you can say there's a finger of God forming here. What do you need to let go of regarding home, land, property, and real estate? Maybe it's time to release or surrender that for something more appropriate or powerful, and you need to sacrifice in order to do it. But this will benefit you in your 11th house of great gains professionally and just a sense of luck. With the Apollo energy, the sun god in the 1st house, This is definitely an energy for you where you are leaderful, you are strong, you are commanding, you are the sun god of your life, and you flow that solar sun god on purpose energy. All solar energy is about our soul, and you're going to flow that back up to the house of your philosophy and life. Now, some of you may travel quite extensively in the next 2 years, but to places that, caution, like you're not going off to, some war zone. I mean, you got Saturn up there. But there's definitely an opportunity for travel, especially around seashore destinations, Neptune, in your life over the next 2 years. And that may be a feature of how your life was in 94 to 98. If you want to go back and remember, you might be able to compare notes. My sister Nancy is a Cancer rising. And I'm trying to remember if she went back to school or something back then, or if she was traveling. I know she went to Scotland in 2000, so I can't remember. But just compare notes for all of you Cancer rising people. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. So what we have going on, Leo, is that we see the energy of this conjunction that was last seen for you in March of 94 and March of 96, but therefore you go 1994 March to March of 1998, and you had this 4-year window, 4-year window of time, 4-year window of time in which the energy of a Saturn-Mars conjunction played out in your 8th house. So that's the money you share with your marriage partner, your spouse, chunky money, inheritance money, money that you gain from like a tax rebate or a stock investment. So it's not your direct paycheck or earned income. Right. And it's because it's 2nd house from the 7th house, other people, we call it other people's money. The bank is another person. The stock company is another person. It's not your direct possession. Now, if you want to go back to 94 to 98, did you receive money? Were there any inheritances? Go back and try to remember that. I know that my sister Nancy got some money in an inheritance back then. Well, I did too, but it works out for the Leo sun that she is. And I would say also look to the idea here of really cutting through something to do with your life of occult knowledge, mystery. Some of you may learn the tarot, study some occult art, take up some kind of paranormal, supernatural preoccupation over the next 2 years if you haven't done that already. Now, technically, inheritances belong to the 8th house, as I briefly mentioned, and it may indicate an inheritance from an elder figure, Saturn, over the next 2 years for some of you. We want to say that there's a finger of God. What do you need to let go of here in your 3rd house of siblings, sibling relationships, short distance travel, local neighborhood, neighbors, and if you have your IC here, maybe your home. But certainly there's a change in the neighborhood stuff for you, and it requires some sacrifice because the finger of God, which you can't see right now, but it does point to the exalted the exalted moon and Jupiter here and the south node, and indicates a change of local environment over the next 2 years. You are killing it in your career. Mars is flowing to Jupiter, exalted moon, Uranus, freedom, invention, reinvention, success, luck, and prosperity and popularity in the career space for you in the next 2 years, rising to greater power and getting more chunky money, investment money, or even, I don't know, severance packages, 401k buildup, savings, retirement funds increasing steadily but surely because of some shifts in your career status. And you are a sun god, a leader in your 12th house. It flows to this conjunction. You're leading with your soul. You're leading with your spiritual essence. You're leading with the ability to really deep dig and dive deep into who you really want to be in this world. But that sun god is also talking about revenue generated from international and borderless income, connecting to the 8th house of money. Again, we see greater income and greater financial resources here over the next 2 years, especially if you do not only make money within the boundary of your natal country. Okay, if you have any need to undo yourself from psychological self-undoing habits, patterns, and addictions, not a problem. This sun god in your 12th house flowing to the Mars-Saturn conjunction gives you all the power to do that. Now, I'm just going to take a little break and I shall be right back. Let's get going into the Virgo story. Virgo sun, moon, and rising sign. Do I have this cued? Are you guys able to see it? Yes. So if you're Virgo, sun, moon, or rising sign, hey, go back to 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 94 to 98. 2 conjunctions of Jupiter, Uranus over those 4 years happening in the marriage house. If you're long enough to remember that day and you're old enough to live through it, then you may have had some serious need to persevere, be disciplined, and actively forbearant to go the finish line and work in a major relationship to have the marriage not fall apart. But you also could have had your marriage partner going through a very difficult time of having to be a kind of focused and disciplined being in your life as they went through some kind of time in which they had to cross their own finish lines. And one of the things I want to say about that is that sometimes the seventh house is never about you, it's the other person. So you might have witnessed someone important to you, like a marriage partner, business partner, significant other, going through a challenging time in those 4 years. That said, Saturn Mars could be you got widowed or widowhooded back then, or that you even got a divorce during the 94 to 98 window of time. All right, keep that in mind. It can go both ways. Continuing on, however, this time we're back again with Neptune looking for dreamy soulmate love and ideal outcomes in your marriage type relationships. And therefore, this might be persevering for the higher love that's you're capable of receiving and giving in a significant love story over the next 2 years. I love that this exalted moon, Jupiter, Uranus is in the 9th house. Wowzer. This is going to give you some exciting developments regarding foreign land travel, foreign shores, legal matters working out for you, book publishing opportunities, super activation of your spiritual faith and belief in relationship to some significant business or marriage partnership. And again, 7th house is legal vows and contracts, and 9th house is very much connected with religious institutions, and you may be working towards a wedding or a marriage situation over the next 2 years. But because of Uranus is exciting and maybe somewhat unexpected, and Mars and Uranus Jupiter can mean that your husband or marriage partner may be getting opportunities to go, wife, to go to foreign countries or work opportunities in foreign lands, professional opportunities for your partner to travel for his work or her work as well. Now, what do you need to let go of, surrender when it comes to your earnings and your money and your voice and your vocation? You might over the next 2 years make some changes in the way you make money, the way you save money, the way you get money. You're getting a lot of support here to increase your reliance with the North Node Chiron on inheritances and shared monies with a spouse or partner, and indicating a letting go over the next couple of years of hard work or relying too much on the paycheck. With the sun god, you are a sun god with Apollo in your 11th house, your 11th house of good spirit. This is a nice place of luck and opportunity, and you are lighting up with windfalls, greater career gains, but also support from powerful, leaderful friends and allies and benefactors or elder siblings who super support you to be in a state of flow and glow towards all those 9th house matters. Now Jupiter is like churches and religions and spirituality and foreign lands and academic settings, and you might be experiencing a real boost in those areas of your life over the next couple of years, Virgo. If you have any desire to travel extensively to foreign countries or even relocate there with a partner just for an adventure even, maybe this sky can point you to nesting your way into an exalted moon, foreign land, shore, and having some time abroad for some of you Virgos. Libra, sun, moon, and rising. This conjunction happened in 94 to 98 in 2 separate time frames. Listen to the beginning of the video between Mars and Saturn in your 6th house, your 6th house of work and career, and like the workplace, the colleague, coworker, space, pets, debts and debt owed and debt receiving, or debt relief, and things to do with rental opportunities and, tenancies. Now, because it's a workhouse and, when Saturn's here, you grind. You're a grinder until 2026. Mars is adding another element. Mars is saying, yes, we're grinding, and we're grinding. And then you add to the grind active forbearance and finish line marathoner. And possibly the next 2 years are going to be the hardest work you've done in a whole long time. Although you're aiming for some dream goals in the hard work and to actualize some of your dream goals. It's a flow to an exalted moon, Jupiter, Uranus in your 8th house of chunky money, where unearned income can come to you. So there's some financial benefits here definitely coming to you to help pay off debts. And maybe even with this triple goodness in your 8th house, what Mars-Saturn says, you work really hard, but you manage to succeed financially, maybe through your 401k investments and other people's money, leveraging money as well, like loans and mortgages. You definitely have a finger of God saying, let go. You can't see it, but it's here. Let go, surrender, release some of your identity, who you thought you were in the world, how you wanted to be identified and seen by others, how you hold the character of you. You're an actress or an actor revising the character, changing some of the assumptions you had about your very own identity, especially as it connects to your significant one-on-one relationships. And you're a sun god in your career, Apollo, top of the sky, giving you incredible strength. Like, wow, you are like literally a sun god of success in work and career. This is your best place of glow and flow over the next 2 years as you are perseverant and disciplined. And taking conservative but incremental actions and decisions that are realistic in your career in order to rise up to more power and financial success and to gain the great esteem of others in your career path. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Go back to 94 to 98. This is the last time you felt this energy of the Mars-Uranus conjunction in Pisces in the house of children, pregnancy, fertility, fun, play, pleasure, creative projects, artistic endeavors, and romantic love and fertility. Children, pregnancy, yeah. Entrepreneurial endeavors as well. So go back to that 94 to 98 timeframe when the conjunction was happening in 2 consecutive years here. And what were you up to in your life? Probably wondering why I'm moving around. I have this like really weird stabbing pain in my ear. And it's driving me nuts. And plus I'm trying to stretch and move around yeah, just don't even ask. Don't troll me about moving around, okay? I'm in like some degree of discomfort. Oh, shite. It's like nerve pain in my ear, like a stabbing ice pick. All right, just I have to confess to the Scorpio. So, I had this kind of thing with COVID, just FYI, stabbing neurological pain in my trigeminal nerve. I was like, I hope I don't have COVID again. Oh, okay, moving on. Mars conjunct here. Persevering and discipline with your creative project, your artistic projects, your entrepreneurial business, with how you discipline, handle your children. Although some of your children may be going through a time of hardship, they're also persevering and being resilient. Love relationships are probably feeling hard now, and the fun, play, pleasure, and joy factor might be limited, but there is ability to persevere and not give up, including the decision or attempt to have a baby or get pregnant. You'll be a finish line. You won't give up. You'll take action and discipline and persevere and focus there. You have a glow up to your house of marriage and significant others, clients, audience, and marketplace in the next 2 years where you're abundant, prosperous, and successful. And if you're wanting to have a baby, an exalted moon in the house of the partner, especially if your partner's female, but either way, can indicate through discipline and perseverance, hard work, you can conceive a child in the next 2 years. You are in a finger of God. Let go of those addictions, self-defeating habits, patterns. It's time to get rid of the wine, the vape, the beer, whatever holds you back. And you'll be able to do that through a sacrificial energy, maybe by applying yourself to what inspires you creatively and losing yourself in significant long-term love connections that feel like a place of joy and bounty. Or if you're an artist, you could have something take off and go into a big hit here with this combination, like a song, a painting, a poem in the next 2 years, because you didn't give up and you're consistent and disciplined in it. Especially with Saturn ruling your house of social media, third house. So some of you are going to be able to bust out in terms of artistic or creative energies in the social media world and be very successful over the next 2 years. You're a leader in the 9th house of international foreign lands. You're a leader and successful and rising to the top of some situation in the bright way when it comes to academics, as well as travel to foreign countries and legal and court matters. And maybe for a very few of you, book publishing, it's something you're doing in your creative muse-driven house. You could write something that rises to the top, and you're very successful in the book publishing world as well. Certainly, this looks to me like it's going to activate a lot of that 5th house, 9th house juice. That's your Dharma houses. And are you on purpose because you want to be, because it's going to serve you in multiple ways. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. What's happening here is you have this conjunction of Mars and Saturn that you last saw back in 1994 to 98, 2 consecutive conjunctions. And that time of your life may remind you again of the same thing now, right? This April, 2 years. And it's about your property, homeland, and real estate. Now, this is very expat when you see Mars down here. And some of you may already be expatted, or some of you may want to move to another country and live abroad and exile from your homeland. And you'll do the diligent, necessary, cautious steps to get there. And maybe buy a dreamy ocean or water body in Neptune and Pisces. And that may be something you're focused on in the next 2 years. On the other hand, you may be very focused and disciplined in structuring a new home, and that can look like construction, architectural designs, and building in the next 2 years. What were you doing 94 to 98 regarding these matters? Hardship in the home, but you persevere in the next 2 years. Maybe domestic unbliss, but you're working through it. I do want to say that you have a great deal of success here with this Jupiter-Uranus exalted moon in your 6th house of work. So work from home, work and livelihood, new home rentals, property rentals, an ability to relieve yourself of a debt and maybe get a great mortgage or refinance or buy a new home or sell a home and really pump up your money. Okay. Pumping up your chunky money here for sure because of Apollo in the house of chunky money. Some of you therefore may, persevere to move to a home, there's a rental or rent a home out, to increase your financial wealth through being a solar light in the house of shared monies with a spouse, money from real estate property sales, money from anything to do with your chunks of money that you didn't really earn. Those are increasing over the next 2 years. What are you letting go of? There's a very hidden finger of God here in your 11th house of good spirit. You might let go of something here. I bet you if I go back a day, the finger of God will be more visible because we're losing it as the moon is moving, right? Not really. Okay. Okay, so never mind. So you need to surrender some of the friendship groups, some of your long cherished wishes, goals, and dreams for your life, and some of the connections you have to an older sibling. That could be a letting go here over the next 2 years. And I didn't talk about it earlier, but, Apollo's at the bending of the nodes of fate. There may be a turning point with a sibling that allows you to prosper, an elder sibling in particular that benefits you financially, and it's a destined event regarding sibling money and your larger chunks of money that you're able to access over the next 2 years. Oh, I'm going by days. I apologize. Hey, Capricorn. Want you to time travel. Go all the way back in time to when? Go back in time to 1994 to 98, when the last time you had Saturn and Mars co-joining in Pisces, and compare it to what's happening in the next 2 years. Because now this is going to reactivate those stories, a little bit different with Neptune here, but to do with things to do with siblings, especially younger, but aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews, and categoric siblings, and some hardship, perseverance, discipline, focus, energy regarding those relationships. However, this is also changes that you might make in a focused, incremental way around neighbors, neighborhood relationships, and the daily life in the fishbowl in which you swim. So that can look like some significant neighborhood changes in the next 2 years. If you are a communicator, marketer, seller, or writer, you're going to be very focused and disciplined in your communicating, writing, marketing, and selling, especially in the online world. This is in a flow to an exalted moon, Jupiter, Uranus in your 5th house of money luck. This can definitely look like some financial success and good fortune coming to you that's unexpected, even winning money when over the next 2 years, because this bakes in a flow to that conjunction. You may also find yourself having children or grandchildren, depends on what age you are, in the next 2 years. And you may do a lot of travel back and forth regarding those children or grandchildren's stories. You want to let go of something in your career, but not just your career. It's your reputation, how the world sees you, how you want to be identified by others, and you're surrendering an older identity there. And you'll be looking over the 2 years ahead as something new is forming, especially as it relates to your 4th house of home, land, property, and real estate. Looks like you guys may be changing not only neighborhoods, but homes significantly in the next 2 years. You can be a sun god. You can rise up to great power in the house of marriage. Or your marriage partner can rise to great power and solar energy and supports that flow or glow towards things you wish to change in home and neighbors and neighborhood and daily life. Or it's just a glow up in the house of committed love and business partnerships, or the way you reach out to your audience and marketplace, or you attract a solar figure into that client relationship that really benefits you in your house of travel. I forgot to say short distance travel. Like Mars commutes a lot kind of thing in the third house. Saturn is disciplined travel, focused commuting, perseverant energy around lots of travel that could come up for you in the next couple of years. It may feel hard, but worthy of your time. And well, I don't know, with the sun god at the bending of the nodes of fate, fated turning points in the life of a significant other that are also very positive and influence your Mars conjunction and your Jupiter fifth house conjunction. If you're an entrepreneur, this is fantastic. If you work in the online world, this is going to glow you up. When it comes to marriage and love, and you're young enough, this could be like a pregnancy with your significant other. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. Well, go back to 94 through to 1998 when Mars co-joined Saturn in your Pisces second house. The second house is your resources, usually financial, savings, the money that you take possession of, usually earnings. It's also things to do with what you value and where your values lie and what you wish to do in order to achieve food, shelter, water, and thrive well beyond that. So in this particular second house, what were you doing? I'm an Aquarius rising, 94 to 98. I changed careers. I was a real estate agent. I was a journalist. Those are the things that were behind me. And I moved into psychic full-time readings, BBC documentary, remote viewing. Some of you know my whole life was weird back then, talking to dead people. So I changed careers. It was successful. But you had to persevere and be disciplined. And sometimes you felt frustrated. You had ambition, and drive, but it felt like it was going very slow. And you're back in that transition again. Here we see you need to let go of ninth house matters, usually a philosophy, a spiritual faith, or a belief, as the south node is releasing something and it flows into a finger of God here. And these are awkward and require sacrifice, but also connecting to your fourth house of home, property, land, and real estate, and where you live in your private life. Now, this is a you. I mean, this is the whole Jupiter-Uranus conjunction coming up, which I will talk about in depth again. I have a video out already from December. But you're having a smashingly successful time in and from your home, buying land, property, and real estate, maybe selling real estate, maybe having some kind of super glow up regarding things to do with legacy wealth and inheriting some money even. You never know, because all these are fourth house matters and there's a big excitement going on here. So you got to go with it. But at the same time, you want to note that this Jupiter-Uranus moon flowing to Mars also allows for some success with Apollo in the house of debts, rental properties, tenancies, pets, and of course, work and health routines. And therefore, all of those things are on the agenda for the next 2 years. This is going to be an increase of success in your finances through the work and the health matters and routines of your life. This is also allowing for some expansion or growth or prosperity or plenty or opportunity to do with your home, property, land, and real estate matters of the fourth house. And I don't know, Moon, Jupiter, it could be some unexpected success coming through writing projects. It's a Venus ruled sign with Moon, Jupiter, very often a signature for writers, but also some unexpected success connected to money from mom, dad, or up the family line that surprises you. And it's almost like a karmic debt repaid, or allows you to surpass any limitations around indebtedness and debt. Almost done. A stabbing like ice pick in my ear. OMG. I know what it is. It's trigeminal nerve, but why is it inflamed? Oh, yeah, I took an Advil, guys. I never take anything. And it still just took it down for 2 hours. Now it's 3 hours. Now it's coming back. Yikes. Holy shite. It hurts. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. It's all about you. This is happening like it did 94 to 98 in the sign that belongs to your identity. Your sun is your career. Your moon is your body. Your sun is your purpose. Your moon is your home. Your body and home are active. It's a Pisces moon, your career as a sun, everything about your life and your identity as a rising sign. And you're going to be perseverant, disciplined, focused, incremental, marathon finisher. Active forbearance, discipline, and force in your very nature regarding home, property, home, moon, sun, career, or everything in your life if it's a Pisces rising, people. You are looking at a finger god. Let go of reliance on inheritance money, spousal money, chunky money, money that you get from a government grant or whatever monies you're not earning. It's time to release yourself from that because you're being pulled to earn money, increase your self-worth, and heal the money wound you've had since 2019 around your earnings. Around your earnings, that's on all of my eclipse videos about why you have that wound there and how the eclipses are healing it. The eclipse is healing it this April 8th. I love this exalted moon, Uranus, Jupiter. Prosperity, unexpected excitement flows at you from a sibling, from a cousin, aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew, or from somebody in your local neighborhood or environment, or from greater prosperity over the next 2 years in your online world or in writing projects that really ratchet up really quickly in a very happy and exciting way. With this finger of God, no, never mind the finger of God, with this Apollo, the sun god in your fifth house, you are shining brightly like a sun god when you are creative, artistic, and entrepreneurial. No two ways about it. However, if you're young enough, I mean, Jupiter, the moon, children, and fertility, you could end up with a pregnancy out of this flowing to the sun god in your fifth house, maybe getting pregnant over the next 2 years with a neighborhood person, someone close at hand, someone in your daily life, or through a trips or travel, or within learning environments. Yeah, getting pregnant on a trip is very common for most people. It's called a vacation. And you or your partner, yeah, obviously. I would say if you feel sometimes frustrated over the next 2 years, because this is a frustration energy, obviously, Mars is go-getter and speedy velocity, and Saturn is slow like a turtle, and the two of their energies are hot and cold. If you feel frustrated, you'll be fine. You're operating on a higher Neptunian principle. You're looking for the deep spiritual essence of all things right now and have been since 2011. And you'll be able to Zen master your way through this with the Keto moves with great grace, as even when you encounter obstacles, walls, and borders and frustrations in your goals, ambitions, and dreams for your life, you are able to resist the urge to give up and to continue forward to create greater income success, but also the surprises and delights of plenty in the third house. Maybe some of you may even experience some sibling connection in which the sibling is going to benefit you in a very positive and powerful way over the next 2 years. Writing is here. This is a writer's conjunction, Jupiter, Moon, and of course, Apollo in the house of the artist and the muse. Some of you could have a hatching over the next 2 years of an incredibly powerful writing project that can take you to a new level of greater and greater success. Thanks for listening, Pisces, and I'm wishing you all a wonderful Mars conjunction 2 years ahead. This girl's going to take another Advil, hit the bed, read a book, and maybe curl up and hide from this stabbing ear pain. Take care, everybody. Ciao, ciao.